Chapter 881 on the Escape Road. Blizzard City was busy because of Zhu Zheng's order. Although the possibility was not great, they still had to guard against the Colombian Navy's attack on the southeastern coastal cities of the Jiangnan region. As the chief of operations, Tu Yunlai had a lot to worry about. In addition to coordinating the alien organizations in various cities of the Jiangnan Superpower Federation, he also had to dispatch some personnel to assist in defense. On this day, he was about to leave the command center when he was suddenly stopped by an old acquaintance. "Minister Tu, please stay. Can I delay you for a few minutes?" Tu Yunlai looked up and saw that the person who came was Deng Shintong, the captain of the God Squad. This once glorious child of Blizzard City, who was once considered to be Zhu Zheng's successor, had lost a lot of his arrogance at this time. The overall situation set by Gao Changkong made him lose twice in a row. This caused Deng Shintong's prestige in Blizzard City to decline sharply, and it also caused a huge blow to his heart. But at this moment, Tu Yunlai stared at Deng Shintong and felt that he had become more mature than before. The impetuousness and arrogance disappeared, and there was restrained humility in his eyes. "What's the matter, Captain Deng?" Chaos's dull voice came from under the thick collar of the military uniform. Deng Shintong smiled faintly and said with a fixed gaze, "I want to enter your Yenyun Guard for training. And I hope you can train me with the most stringent standards." After the failure of the previous battle with Gao Changkong, he realized his shortcomings. Although he has extremely high talent, he also has the full support of Deng's technology. These things make him strong, but they also become his dependence. So that his basic combat literacy is difficult to compare with the soldiers who have walked out of the battlefield of life and death. When people are young, it is not a good thing to walk too smoothly, because once you fall, you may never get up again. Deng Shintong thought about it and finally decided to participate in the Yenyun Guard training, which is known as the most rigorous in Jiangnan, as an ordinary soldier. In the end of the world, Yenyun Guard will only select the strongest warriors. The intensity of the training is more than 3 times stronger than the Special Forces training before the end of the world. There is even a 10% mortality rate during training. When Tu Yunlai heard Deng Shintong's request, he immediately chose to refuse. If you just want to strengthen your own strength, Deng's technology has plenty of ways. Even if it is professional physical training, it is not inferior to Yanyunwei. My soldiers are ordinary people, and you are the son of the Deng family. Can it be the same? Although Tu Yunlai was dull, he was not stupid to be able to sit in this position. What if Deng Shintong had an accident during the training of Yanyunwei? What would he say to the Deng family and Zhu Zheng? Don't look at Deng Shintong as a captain-level alien. But without using superpowers, to put it bluntly, some of Tu Yunlai's elite can easily beat him. Life and death training is no joke. Deng Shintong certainly heard Tu Yunlai's concerns. He said solemnly, "The training of Deng's technology can only strengthen my body and supernatural powers, but it can't temper my fighting will. I can sign a document. If there is any accident during the training, I will never blame anyone. Minister Tu, as the captain of the Tianjin team, I can become stronger, which is of great significance to the defense of the entire Jiangnan region. Please agree to my request for this reason." He lowered his head, looked at his strong and powerful white palms, and clenched his fists. "I have lived too comfortably in the past. If I continue like this, even if Gao Changkong, Jang E, and others don't appear, I will sooner or later be surpassed by other rising stars. I can't tolerate this situation. I can't tolerate myself losing again." Tu Yunlai listened to Deng Shintong's self-narration silently. He admitted that he was moved by Deng Shintong's words. Deng Shintong is very talented. It's just that he has been too smooth along the way, and the Deng family intends to create a god, so he is immersed in his false strength and can't extricate himself. Maybe the blow brought to him by Gao Changkong and Zhang E is a good thing. So he said, "As long as you are willing to sign a disclaimer, I don't mind adding one more soldier to the Yanyunwei training camp. But remember, once you go there, you will no longer have any identity, nor will you receive any special care. Even if something unexpected happens, you will die anyway." Deng Shintong smiled, but his expression was extremely firm. "I understand." and at this time on the other side of the sea. In order to avoid the pursuit of the Columbia Navy, the Jinfeng began to turn around and head southwest, as Zhu Jing said. In this way, they will be farther and farther away from the mainland of Huaxiu. Next, they can only rely on the judgment of the sailors in the sea to make a big circle and go to the southwest waters of Huaxiu. All equipment such as sonar and radar are completely turned off. This is a very dangerous practice, and the ship's speed cannot be too fast. Otherwise, if it hits a reef or iceberg, it will easily sink. Jang E didn't dare to be careless. He was always thinking about the person Zhu Jing mentioned, the Epsilon-level alien with a superpower index of 18,000 points in the Columbia Ocean Fleet. With Jang Yi's current strength, if he met him, I'm afraid that no one on the entire ship would survive. Even if it was him, if he wanted to survive, it would depend on the ability of the other party. His superpower index at this time reached 9,600 points, which is the comprehensive rating given by the Jiangnan district. However, in fact, his current attack ability is only equivalent to Deng Shintong with 9,300 points. But the sacrifice of attack strength is exchanged for a defense ability of about 12,000 points. Space-related aliens are extremely rare and abnormal. If not, Jang E would not have been able to block multiple rounds of attacks from Yuan Kongya, who had just been promoted to Epsilon, when his superpower index was only more than 7,000 points. However, the superpower index of the Columbia Navy is almost twice his. If his ability is similar to the power of God, he can easily destroy my space. It won't be a problem to kill me in seconds, but if he is a strengthening mutant with super close combat ability, then my life will basically not be in danger. Jang E touched his chin. So, how big is his threat index to me? Does it depend on his specific abilities? The ability index only represents the strength of the ability, not the level of strength. In a real duel, there will be an unequal strength gap due to environmental restrictions and ability restraint. For example, if an ice-attributed mutant fights in the magma layer, his strength may be lost by more than 90%. This is why there has been no outstanding fire-attributed mutant so far. So, even if the Columbia Navy is an Epsilon mutant with an ability index of 18,000 points, Jang E may not be completely defeated by the other party. But now, he has no idea what John Cartier's real ability is. This is his biggest worry. There is still too little information. Old Zhu, you're not helpful enough. Jang E leaned on Zhou Kur's thigh and complained with his eyes closed. Chapter 882. Calming People's Hearts. In the Arctic Ocean, undercurrents surged. The atmosphere on the ship became depressed again because of the previous events. Whether it was the oppression brought by the Columbia Navy or the way Jang E executed traitors such as Che Haiqing, the other members on the ship were in a heavy mood. Even the crew members were worried about this blind voyage. Losing the course meant that they had to use a sextant to determine the route as they did centuries ago. But now the sunlight was not obvious, the white sun had no temperature, and it could only be seen for a few hours a day. It was at this time that the fin dragon that had been lurking in the deep sea showed up again. It appeared in the sea area thousands of meters away from the Jinfeng, and its huge body hundreds of meters long was looming in the waves. The cold and terrifying eyes were like a deep-sea dark lamp at night, and the crew on duty screamed in fear. Jang E opened his eyes suddenly from his sleep, and then came to the deck in an instant. But when he appeared, the fin dragon immediately sensed something and went into the seabed, without looking back. Jang E frowned. This thing was too annoying. Jang E didn't have the ability or equipment to dive into the deep sea, so he really couldn't do anything about it. But now they were on the run and couldn't turn on the sonar. They couldn't find it in the deep sea in advance. This beast was very smart. It noticed the situation of the Jinfeng, so it started to act recklessly recently. It was very patient and had been waiting for something to happen to the Jinfeng or for the people on it to be in poor condition, and then it would take action. Jang E returned to the deck and shouted, "Lao Tian." He didn't get a response from Lao Tian. He turned his head and saw that Lao Tian was comforting the frightened crew member on duty with several crew members who had just climbed up. Without the feedback from the sonar, he had no warning about the sudden appearance of the fin dragon. In the middle of the night, Who wouldn't be scared to see this kind of titan-like monster on the sea? Jang E walked into the control room. The crew member had been taking deep breaths and even put on oxygen masks. It took a long time for him to recover. Old Tian. Jang E called out again. Old Tian heard Jang E calling him and stood up and walked over. Mr. Zhang. Old Tian also showed a worried look on his face. In recent days, he has had a few more wrinkles on his face. He is not even 50 years old, but the sea breeze all year round makes him look like an old man in his 60s. Check the weapons, especially the depth charges, to make sure they can be dropped at the first time. Yes, Mr. Zhang. Jang E thought about it and raised his voice a little. Also tell them that the region has sent people to pick us up. He had a calm smile on his face. Don't worry too much. The Navy of the East China Sea region has been dispatched. The Navy of Colombia dare not confront us head-on in this area. We just need to get through this period of time, and we can go home. If Jang E had been like before, he would not have explained so much to them. But now, the morale on the ship is low, and they need encouragement. Sure enough, after hearing Jang E's words, everyone showed hope in their eyes. When can they come? It's easy for us to go astray when we sail aimlessly. In fact, it's hard to say when we can reach the designated location. The crew members couldn't help but express their doubts. It won't take too long. Even if you stay on the ship, I will protect your safety, and I have more supplies than you can use in your lifetime. What do you have to worry about?
We
are all veteran sailors. Don't add psychological burden to yourself all day long. It's not a big problem, but you collapse first. That would be meaningless. After Jang E's counseling, the crew's mentality really improved a lot. Although they are all veteran sailors, they have been sailing on the sea for more than 3 months in a row and only landed on Yenlu Island for half a day. People who often sail know that this is a great test of people's will. After Jang E calmed everyone down, he called Lao Tian aside alone. Can you determine where we are now? Lao Tian heard this with an embarrassed expression. Although there is a nautical chart, it can only determine the approximate location. And it can't be guaranteed to be correct. It's no longer the age of discovery. Even veteran sailors are highly dependent on electronic equipment. It is really difficult to suddenly lose navigation instruments and rely only on the naked eye, sextant, and experience. It's okay. If we make a mistake, we will try again. At least we must ensure that we don't go into the circle of the Colombian Navy. Lao Tian said quickly, you can rest assured about this. They are trying to find us at present, which is like looking for a needle in a haystack. If it were so easy to find a ship with all electronic communication equipment turned off, there would not be so many shipwrecks that cannot be found every year. That's it. Lao Tian seemed to be hesitant to speak. Jang E glanced at him. Just say whatever you want to say. Lao Tian smiled bitterly and said, the crew's mood has been a little bit, I know this. Is there any way to solve it?
Jang
E asked. Lao Tian thought for a while and said, in fact, the best ways to relieve worries are nothing more than those. Cigarettes, alcohol, women, and gambling. Before, alcohol was always prohibited on the ship, and Jang E gave the order himself.
Jang
E smiled and said, okay, from today on, I allow you to drink on the ship. I will provide the drinks, but you must promise me that the staff on duty will never drink. Anyway, the ship is in a semi-drifting state, so it doesn't matter much to let the crew relax. As for other aspects, you can do it yourself. Women or the young master, the people of the Yenlu group, should not touch it. There are some in the lower cabin. You can exchange them with supplies, but don't force them like pigs and dogs. Lao Tian hurriedly said, with your order, we must act according to the rules. In addition, I have another request. The area we are in now should be close to the southern waters, so there must be some islands around. Everyone hasn't been ashore for too long. If they can rest on the shore, it may be more beneficial for the next voyage. Lao Tian carefully watched the changes in Jang E's expression. After hearing the suggestion, Jang E was indeed tempted. After all, humans are land animals. After staying at sea for a long time, they will inevitably want to return to land. The feeling of having your feet on solid ground will give people a sense of solid psychological comfort. If we can find a safer land, we can consider landing to rest. Jang E nodded and agreed to Lao Tian's proposal. Chapter 883 Mysterious Sea. The Jinfeng continued to sail forward. But in the following time, the fin dragon appeared around the Jinfeng several times to test it. After many touches, this clever sea monster has captured the action pattern of the Jinfeng and the powerful human. Although the powerful human has terrifying combat power, it seems that the other people on the ship are extremely weak. Moreover, the powerful human has no ability to dive into the deep sea. Therefore, the fin dragon chose another way, which is to constantly harass around. And every time at this time, Jang E had to appear and drive the fin dragon away. Over and over again, he was a little annoyed. Because the sonar was turned off, the Jinfeng could not capture the position of the fin dragon in advance. Fortunately, Jang E's time echo ability can predict the attack of the fin dragon in advance. Otherwise, the Jinfeng might have been overturned by the fin dragon's sneak attack. Because of this, Jang E's sleep quality began to deteriorate. He could not sleep deeply, otherwise the Jinfeng might be destroyed by the fin dragon in his sleep. And the others on the ship can only choose to believe that Jang E can protect them. Many crew members began to numb themselves with a lot of alcohol, and the ship was often drunk and dreaming. It was not until 3 days later that a turning point came. That evening, Lao Tian excitedly found Jang E with dark circles under his eyes and said excitedly, "Mr. Zhang, we seem to have found land." Jang E, like Lao Tian, had not slept well in the past few days. Hearing that land had been found, Jang E's eyes flashed with surprise. "Where is it? Can you tell where we are?" This cannot be determined for the time being because the sea ahead is shrouded in a large area of ice fog. But if you can see some islands and reefs, there must be land nearby. Jang E smiled and said, "That's good now." Finding land means leaving the deep sea area. Then the threat brought to them by the fin dragon will be easily eliminated. After all, the biggest reliance of the fin dragon is actually the deep sea. Jang E narrowed his eyes, and he and Lao Tian hurried to the deck. Sure enough, a hazy fog appeared more than 10 miles ahead. The fog was very thick, deep white with cold ice flowers. In the fog, some small islands and reefs could be vaguely seen. Encountering islands and reefs meant that land had appeared. If they continued to move forward, they might encounter large islands and land to rest. Jang E couldn't help but look back at the sea. In the deep seabed, the huge sea snake was hiding, waiting for an opportunity to attack the Jinfeng. A sharp light flashed in Jang E's eyes. He never liked to leave trouble, and any safety hazards were solved on the spot. Next, they needed to avoid the pursuit of the Colombian Navy. If they also had to face a sea monster with an ability index of 9,200 points at the same time, they would be overwhelmed. So Jang E decided to make a break with the fin dragon in this area. However, this beast is very smart, and it will not take action without certainty. Jang E said to Lao Tian, "Drive the boat into the ice fog. Find a piece of land first, and let everyone stop and rest." Lao Tian nodded and immediately returned to the control room to order the crew to sail into the ice fog. In the deep sea, the fin dragon watched the Jinfeng slowly leave from the deep sea. A gloomy look appeared in its huge pupils, because if it moves forward, the depth of the seawater will begin to decrease. With its huge body, it will be directly exposed to Jang E. As a deep-sea monster, once it comes to the shallows, its combat effectiveness will be greatly reduced. And without the buffer of seawater, the terrifying void skills released by the powerful human can directly take most of its life. Squeak, dash. It twisted restlessly in the seawater, venting its anger like a maggot. There are no large fish around it, but some small fish swim very happily. It decided to continue lurking. As long as the other party does not leave the ocean, sooner or later it will leave from the shallow water area in front of it. At that time, it will continue to block it. The Jinfeng sailed into the hazy ice fog, and the speed immediately slowed down, because there might be invisible reefs below. Once this thing hits, it is easy for the Jinfeng to drop anchor. Jang E knew that after the ship sailed here, the fin dragon could not continue to chase. This is the disadvantage of the huge body. It is easy to expose itself in a small place. He did not rush forward, but asked Lao Tian to stop the Jinfeng in a water area first. Rest for a day first and then make plans. Jang E hadn't slept well for a long time. He planned to have a good rest here to restore himself to the best condition. After Lao Tian received the order, he immediately docked the Jinfeng near an island reef. Here, with its back to the land, even if the fin dragon suddenly attacks, it may come from the front. I want to have a good sleep. If there is any emergency that needs my attention, please wake me up immediately. In other cases, don't disturb me. Jang E said to Zhou Kur. Zhou Kur heard this and said to him gently, just have a good rest. In order to let Jang E sleep more peacefully, Zhou Kur adopted Jang E's favorite sleeping posture. That is to let Jang E lie on her thighs and be a beauty's knee pillow. There is nothing softer and more fragrant than this pillow. Sure enough, after Jang E lay on the knee pillow, he soon fell asleep and entered his dreamland. When the other people on the boat saw the island reef that was less than 10 square meters not far away, they were all excited and screamed. Seeing the island reef means that it is not far from the land. They haven't seen solid land for too long, and they're almost crazy. Lao Tian allowed the people in the lower cabin to come to the deck for the first time to release the depression of the past few days. Zhu Yonk, Sun Wanshi, and the people of Yenlu Group also ran to the deck. Although it was empty and there was nothing on the boat, there was a free and cold air that filled their lungs. Several fishermen came to Lao Tian and said excitedly, Deputy Captain Tian, can you give us some fishing gear? We want to go fishing. It would be nice to have some fresh fish for everyone to eat. After getting along for a few days, the crew and the surviving passengers actually had a very good relationship. At least now, everyone was on the same boat and had a foundation of trust with each other. Lao Tian asked them to get the fishing rods out of the warehouse. Take out some more so that everyone can relax. Lao Tian said with a smile. The passengers on the deck cheered with joy because they lacked any leisure options. Chapter 884 Strange Fish. On the deck of the Jinfeng, everyone was excited about the long-awaited relaxation time. They lay on the railing, regardless of the severe cold that had dropped to more than 40 degrees below zero, and greedily breathed in the cold and refreshing salty air outside. Zhu Yonk and Sun Wanshi stood in front of the railing, with Zhu Yonk holding Tommy, who was wrapped tightly in her arms. Compared with others, the two of them could only be said to be forcing a smile. Because during this period, they not only had to worry about the attacks of sea monsters and the pursuit of the Colombian army. The biggest trouble did not come from the outside world, but from the baby they took care of together. The 1-year-old child was too noisy, and his sleep and eating were irregular every day. He often woke up in the middle of the night with a wow, and then Zhu Yonk and Sun Wanshi couldn't sleep all night. The two of them went from overflowing maternal love at the beginning to gradually losing patience later, and now they are on the verge of collapse. Looking at the cold seawater in front of her, Zhu Yonk suddenly had such an idea in her heart: just throw him away. Anyway, no one is paying attention now, just throw him away and pretend that this incident never happened. Anyway, I saved him in the first place, and I don't owe him anything if I throw him away now. Such a horrible thought. When Zhu Yonk came to her senses, she couldn't help but feel cold on her back. How could she have such an evil idea? No, she is not such a person. She is a kind person, she is just too tired. At this time, Zhu Yonk accidentally saw Zhang Weiwei playing with students not far away. She brought several students from Qingdao and were trying to hang frozen fish on the hook and then throw them into the sea for fishing. Her husband Li Zhongyu stood by with a smile, instructing them on the technique of casting the rod. It looked so harmonious. Zhu Yonk had an idea. She is a teacher, she should like children very much. She also knows how to take care of children better than me. Zhu Yonk didn't think she was shirking the blame in her heart. She felt that she was just looking for a better nanny for Tommy. So Zhu Yonk walked towards Zhang Weiwei with the child in her arms. Seeing Zhu Yonk, Zhang Weiwei, and Lee Zongyu both greeted her politely. After spending a long time together, they also knew that Zhu Yonk was the family member of a leader in the Jiangnan region. However, on this ship, Zhu Yonk did not seem to have much say. In addition, she had been self-righteous and petty several times before, which actually made the passengers on the ship look down on her in their hearts. "Miss Zhang, you seem to like children very much." Zhu Yonk stared at Zhang Weiwei and tried to force a smile. Zhang Weiwei didn't understand what she meant, but still said politely, "Originally, my husband and I planned to have one this year." Who knew that this happened later? Zhu Yonk's eyes lit up. "In this case, do you want to consider adopting one? Look how cute this baby is. As long as you are willing to raise it, I can provide you with the food he needs in the future." Zhu Yonk couldn't wait to hand the child over. But Zhang Weiwei and Li Zongyu looked strange. Li Zongyu touched his nose, a little embarrassed. Zhang Weiwei smiled faintly. She looked at Tommy in Zhu Yonk's hand and complimented him. "What a cute baby. But I'm really sorry. It's already very difficult for us to take care of ourselves in our current situation. We really can't raise another child." Zhu Yonk's smile froze on her face. The delivery of the bag failed. "I thought you liked children." Zhang Weiwei smiled politely. "You may like them, but it depends on the situation, right? When the environment is not suitable for reproduction, even animals will stop giving birth. We don't even have our own children, let alone." She glanced at the blue-eyed doll. "We are raising someone else's child." The two politely apologized to Zhu Yonk. Zhu Yonk's face was a little gloomy, but she could only hug Tommy and walk away helplessly. Zhang Weiwei and Li Zongyu watched her leave. Zhang Weiwei couldn't help but whispered, "Should we say she is kind or naive?" Li Zongyu sighed. "Probably both. But in the current environment, having both of these qualities at the same time is a kind of cruelty." Soon they put Zhu Yonk's matter behind their minds and went fishing happily. A fisherman's fishing rod suddenly sank in his hand, and he shouted happily, I got it, I got it." He pulled the fishing rod hard, trying to pull the fish up. What a great force. It must be a big one. I guess it's 100 pounds. But the harder he pulled, the heavier the force in his hand became. Just as he was about to pull the big guy out of the sea in one go, a huge force suddenly came from the opposite direction and dragged him directly into the sea. Plop! With a sound, water splashed everywhere. There were mocking voices all around, but Lao Tian shouted, "Hurry up and rescue him. It's so cold. You are so far away from me. You will freeze to death if you are not careful." The people around realized the seriousness of the problem and hurried to find a rope ladder to save him people. But at this moment, the water suddenly surged violently, and black blood gushed out. The fisherman who was dragged into the water struggled hard for a few times, and only saw his arms flapping on the water, and then he completely lost his movement. The air suddenly became quiet. The fisherman was eaten by the fish? But before they could come to their senses, screams suddenly came from other directions. The sound of swoosh and swoosh breaking through the air was endless in the air. From all sides of the gene foam, one black shadow after another rushed out from the bottom of the sea and rushed straight to the people on the boat. Puff, puff, puff. The bodies of 5 or 6 passengers were pierced by the black shadow and fell directly to the ground. A wailing sound rang out on the deck. Lao Tian took a closer look and found that the one that pierced the passenger's body was a hideous and terrifying strange fish. It was more than 3 meters long, black as oil, without eyes, and had 2 rows of sharp teeth in its mouth. The most terrifying thing was that on its head, there was a sharp horn with barbs more than 1 meter long. After piercing the passenger's body, it began to gnaw at the internal organs, and soon the deck was covered with blood. Mutated swordfish. Lao Tian quickly realized what it was. He picked up the gun in his hand, and while cleaning the mutated swordfish on the boat, he shouted, "Passengers, go back to the cabin. Those who work, grab your weapons." The crew members were experienced at sea and did not panic. It was just some mutated swordfish which could be dealt with by hot weapons. For a while, the passengers ran into the cabin in a panic, while Lao Tian took people outside to clean up the flying swordfish. Chapter 885 Shumi, 3000 Worlds. The lethality of the mutant swordfish is very strong, and it can even pierce steel plates. Fortunately, Jang E prepared special bulletproof vests for the crew so they would not be stabbed and suffered penetrating injuries. They used guns to fight back, and after dealing with it for a long time and killing dozens of mutant swordfish, the Jin Feng regained its composure. Lao Tian wiped the blood off his mask, turned around and asked Lao Xie to bring a group of people to deal with all these mutant swordfish. I dare not eat them for the time being. Who knows if I will get sick after eating this thing. Jang E was in the room, listening to the gunshots, but he unexpectedly slept very soundly. Time Echo did not give a warning, which means that there was no danger. The pleasant gunshots and the calls of the mutant swordfish became a kind of white noise that helped him sleep. He slept until the evening. The Jin Feng sailed out of the thick ice fog, and it was pitch black above, with only the lights on in the control room. The night was as dark as ink. The sea was as deep as the abyss. The head of the fin dragon slowly emerged from the water, and its huge body gave people a natural sense of terror and oppression. It was late at night, and there was no movement on the boat. According to the observations of the fin dragon for many days, the people on the boat must have fallen asleep at this time. A cruel and cunning look flashed in its eyes. Its favorite thing to do is to hunt tired enemies. The fin dragon slowly dived into the water, and its huge body swam towards the deep sea with a flick of its tail. After a few seconds, it returned quickly, carrying a huge tide. Boom! The fin dragon jumped out of the water, raising a wave more than 10 meters high, and hit the Jin Feng. At this moment, Jang E's figure appeared outside the Jin Feng. Dimension Gate. The huge dimension gate blocked the Jin Feng like a gate in the sky, and all the waves were swallowed up. In Jang E's eyes, raging anger was burning. Damn beast, I'm giving you a chance, right? I'm going to kill you today. He took out the sword of the Holy Judgment, and the black void power flowed like a flame, turning into a chain tens of meters long, circling around him. Jang E took a step forward, and two-dimensional doors opened in front of him, with a distance of hundreds of meters in between, so as to achieve the purpose of teleportation. A moment later, he came to the top of the fin dragon's head and chopped it down with a knife. A look of fear appeared in the eyes of the fin dragon, and it roared, and a powerful force burst out from the sharp horns on its head. The purple beam shot towards Jang E. The black void chain collided with the purple beam in the air, and in just a moment, the purple beam was chopped and disintegrated. But the fin dragon was also extremely cunning. Seeing that it couldn't beat it, it swam directly into the deep sea. But this time, Jang E didn't intend to let him go again. He didn't hesitate and dived directly into the seabed. The helmet of the combat suit had been put down, and he had turned it into diving mode. There is compressed liquid oxygen in the combat suit, which can sustain his breathing for 5 hours. The fin dragon did not seem to expect that a mere human dared to enter the ocean to fight against it, and suddenly its eyes showed a cunning look like a human. It knew that it had successfully angered the powerful and tiny human. Squeak, squeak. The fin dragon made a mocking sound happily, and at the same time turned around and shot a purple beam of light at Jang E. Humans will have serious inconveniences when they enter underwater. But after sailing on the sea for several months, Jang E finally found a way to solve this problem. The echo of time allowed Jang E to predict the attack of the fin dragon in advance, and he used the thrusters to quickly dodge. Then, he unfolded his ability, Two Worlds Destruction in the Deep Sea. Two Worlds Destruction, a variant skill of the Dimensional Gate. When Jang E unfolded the two doors at the same time, they made them flexible and turned into a ball-shaped object like dumplings to resist any attacks from the outside world. Let Jang E be in a strange world that seems to be in the real world, but in fact there is a layer of different dimensional doors in the middle. But when the two-world severance was opened, seawater rushed into it madly. It's time to show my warehouse manager skills. Faced with the seawater rushing into the alien space, Jang E was not panicked at all, and used another ability again, a space management ability. He can divide the alien space into many independent cubic spaces, which are isolated from each other and unrelated. He named it Sumeru 3000 Worlds. Just absorb all the seawater into a small world to achieve a balance between the alien space and the seawater. You can even manipulate the flow direction of the seawater to achieve movement. And all I need to prepare is enough oxygen. That's all. Jang E let the seawater quickly fill the entire independent space. At this time, the water pressure inside and outside reached a balanced state, and he was isolated from the sea by the two-world severance, relying on the oxygen in the combat suit to maintain breathing. So far, he can finally move freely in the ocean. The most important point is that this method can balance the pressure of the seawater so that he does not need to worry about being crushed when diving into the deep sea. I'm afraid that only when diving into the 20,000-meter ocean, there's a need to worry that the two-world severance bond cannot withstand the excessive water pressure. And now this level is enough for him to hunt down the fin dragon. Now, it's my turn to hunt you down. Jang E stared at the huge fin dragon on the seabed, with murderous intent in his eyes. He must solve this huge problem in advance, so as to avoid being attacked from both sides when encountering the Columbia Navy. The fin dragon did not expect that the tiny human could actually chase into the deep sea. When the seawater was no longer an obstacle to Jang E's actions, the last gap between him and the fin dragon was also eliminated. Now, here is a battle between an alien with a superpower index of 9,600 points and a deep-sea beast with a superpower index of 9,200 points. The Holy Judgment had a black flame in his hand, sweeping forward. The dimensional gate, a pass. His attack can pass through, but the fin dragon's attack cannot. The powerful force quickly penetrated the seawater, set off a huge frenzy on the seabed, and came to the front of the fin dragon in an instant. Its huge body twisted wildly to avoid the attack, but sometimes being too big is not always a good thing. For example, now, its tail was swept by the black flame of the void. Just a small scratch caused a large number of scales on its skin to fall off, and blood and flesh flew everywhere.
Squeak.
The fin dragon roared in pain and anger. As the overlord of the deep sea, when has it ever been treated like this in the shallow sea, except for some terrifying existences in the deepest part of the ocean? Its body quickly circled up, stirring up the ocean currents, and soon formed a huge whirlpool. It tried to use its size advantage to make Jang E lose balance in the seawater. However, all this was useless to Jang E. The alien space exists independently of him. No matter how turbulent the seawater is, when it passes through the two worlds, it is like passing through a door without thickness. No matter how big the tide is, it cannot move it or damage it. This is the strength of the strongest alien defined by the Jiangnan region as absolute defense. Chapter 886. You can't imagine it. From now on, the offense and defense will change. If the beasts can go, I can go too. When Jang E fought with others, he always made himself invincible first. The two means of attack of the fin dragon relied on its huge body and the high-energy particle shock waves emitted by the sharp horns on its head. But at this time, both means lost their effect on Jang E. Then, no matter how Jang E fights, he will win. The only problem he needs to worry about is whether he will be too tired to win.
Kill.
Today, I want to see how delicious the original power of the sea beast is. Jang E moved forward quickly in the seawater. With the blessing of the thrusters, his speed was no different from flying in the air. The fin dragon roared. While swimming and running in the seawater, he kept looking back and trying to fight back. The beast's natural early warning ability let it know that there was a huge danger around Jang E, and it would not work to attack close to it. But the high-energy particle light emitted by its sharp horns was absorbed by the strange space, and then reflected back to attack itself.
The
fin dragon almost got angry. This is simply cheating. How can I play with you? He chased, it fled. It could not escape. Jang E chased the fin dragon's buttocks, no matter where it ran. He chased it and chopped it wildly. Even if he dived into the deep sea, Jang E was fearless. The fin dragon screamed in anger, and he almost wanted to curse. Fortunately, it had thick skin and flesh and was chopped more than a dozen times. There were knife wounds all over its back. The bloody wounds were shocking, and the scales fell all the way, but it did not stop. After chasing for dozens of miles, the fin dragon suddenly swung its tail in the seawater, bypassed Jang E and swam towards the sea surface. It suddenly figured out where Jang E's weakness was. From the beginning, Jang E himself was not afraid of it. The reason why he held back every time was because he couldn't let go of the other people on the ship. The fin dragon figured this out. If I can't control you, can I control your weakness? Go to hell. Jang E's reaction was half a beat slow, and then he turned around and chased after the fin dragon. The fin dragon felt the urgent pursuit behind him, and a happy smile appeared in his eyes. He knew that he had guessed right. I can't kill you, but I can kill your companions. I can still make you suffer and despair. The fin dragon was thinking this in his heart. The sea surface was getting closer and closer, and the gene foam, which was not protected by Jang E, just stopped quietly on the sea surface. Like an unprepared baby. The fin dragon only needed a charge to split it in half from the middle. But just when the fin dragon was excitedly charging and was about to touch the gene foam, Jang E, who was chasing behind, suddenly stopped. He stopped 1,000 meters away from the gene foam and silently pressed a button on his arm. The fin dragon's head poked into the solid bottom of the gene foam, like a knife poking into wood. But at this moment, it suddenly became bright in front of its eyes. It was a very blazing light, and it suddenly turned into a huge ball of light in front of it, as if a sun exploded in front of it. Not only was it as bright as the sun, but it was also as hot as the sun. The fin dragon was stunned. But it didn't have time to be stunned, and a huge shockwave swept directly towards it. Boom! The power of the explosion attacked in all directions with the gene foam as the center. The fin dragon at the bottom of the ship was the first to be hit, and was thrown out like a snake. Jang E quickly retreated, trying to stay away from the explosion area, because he knew how terrible the explosion of the gene foam was. He placed 10 tons of TNT-equivalent explosives on the ship. To put it bluntly, this level of energy explosion is difficult to absorb completely in one go, even in his alien space. No matter how strong the fin dragon's defense is, it can't be above his alien space. In order to set up this situation for the fin dragon, Jang E did not hesitate to use an icebreaker as bait. After entering the ice fog area, he had arranged in advance for Lao Tian to leave with people. As for what to do without the ship, this is relatively simple. Who said that he only brought one ship when he went out? He had already considered the possibility of a ship crashing at sea. So there was a spare ship in his alien space. I believe that the fin dragon could not imagine this at all. But now, Jang E must make a quick decision. Such a high-energy explosion reaction may attract the attention of the Columbia Navy. He must kill the fin dragon as soon as possible, and then use the ability of Space Shuttle to leave. By then, even if the Columbia Navy arrives, they will not be able to find them hiding in the depths of the ice fog. Without waiting for the shock wave of the explosion to completely dissipate, Jang E chased after the fin dragon with a holy judgment. It was like a long worm that was blown away, with blood and flesh all over its body, and it was extremely miserable. The damage caused to it by the self-detonation of the gene foam was more terrifying than the dozens of knives Jang E had used before, because it was facing the center of the explosion. So for a moment, the whole dragon was stunned, its face was blown into a bloody mess, and its eyes were blinded. Jang E quickly chased after it and chopped it with a knife. "I'll kill you while you're sick." The fin dragon instinctively felt the strong murderous intent, and at this time, there was no courage to resist. It tried its best and only wanted to escape deeper into the deep sea. But its injuries were too severe, and it couldn't swim faster. Jang E quickly caught up with it and chopped it down hard on the back.
Buzz.
The huge void flames spread out for hundreds of meters, and it was like a soul-devouring chain that fiercely wrapped around its body. The terrifying void power corroded its already damaged body and directly caused the flesh and blood on its huge body to explode.
Squeak.
The fin dragon kept screaming and ran into the sea desperately. The blood attracted the attention of many sea beasts around, but the pressure from the two top masters frightened them, so they didn't dare to approach at all. Jang E is simple and unpretentious. Just like a cook who kills chickens, he has great patience to chase. The fin dragon wanted to resist several times in anger. However, the gap in strength between the two sides was too large. It could not break Jang E's defense, and counterattack would only accelerate its death. Finally, after it dived more than 3,000 meters deep, it was chopped to death by Jang E. Such a huge body and such a powerful sea beast are the only ones Jang E has ever seen in his life. He was reluctant to waste it at all, and directly put the body of the fin dragon into his own space, and then quickly floated up. The entire sea area was dyed red by its blood, and Jang E had to leave quickly, because this might attract other powerful beings in the deep sea. It is more likely to attract the Colombian Navy because of the previous explosion. Chapter 887 Upgrade, +1. Deep in the fog, Lao Tian, following Jang E's order, had already driven the new icebreaker Xiaoyao for hundreds of nautical miles in advance. The ice fog here is the best natural barrier. Coupled with their active stealth, even if Colombia's most advanced ships come here, they can't find their traces. Again, without the search capability of electronic equipment, human ships are like headless flies in the vast ocean. Although Xiaoyao is smaller than Jinfeng, it is not a big problem to carry these passengers. At that time, watching Jang E conjure up an icebreaker out of thin air, the other passengers on the ship were shocked. They were more in awe of Jang E in their hearts. Even if some people had some opinions about Jang E before, they became devout admirers because of Jang E's strength. About an hour after Jang E left, he suddenly returned to the ship. He was spotless and looked calm and composed. It's just that he found Lao Tian as soon as possible and asked him to speed up and hide in the depths of the ice fog. "Your plan is really wonderful," Lao Tian said to Jang E with admiration. "By detonating the gene foam, we can not only destroy our troublesome fin dragon, but also give people the illusion that we all died in the deep sea. This is to deceive the Colombian Navy and buy time for us to escape back. Mr. Zhang, you are really a great strategist." Jang E was slightly startled. "Is that what I thought? I thought I just wanted to kill that fin dragon simply because of lack of sleep." "Ah, you are right. Lao Tian, you have really improved recently. I didn't expect that my secret plan was discovered by you." Jang E patted Lao Tian's shoulder with approval. "I am such a talent. I hope I can deceive the Colombian Navy." After all, at this time, Colombia cannot confirm his identity. And the best explanation for the sinking of a huge icebreaker at sea is indeed that all the people on the ship died. Otherwise, they were rescued by the ship of Huaxiu. No matter what the result is, the Colombian Navy has no reason to continue chasing. I hope things will develop as he wants. As he expected, such a high-energy explosion on the sea surface attracted the attention of the Colombian Navy patrolling nearby. They arrived at the site of the explosion more than an hour later, only to find the gene foam, which had sunk to the bottom of the sea after burning. The Colombian Navy was stunned. After repeated confirmation, they concluded that this ship was the Huaxiu ship that the Copernicus was chasing. But now, it suddenly exploded and sank in a sea area. However, no land was found around it. It is obviously unrealistic to enter the deep and cold seabed for investigation. The search ship reported to the headquarters. The headquarters was also very puzzled. The powerful alien who could sink the Copernicus alone actually had an accident with the entire ship at sea? This is not impossible because no matter how powerful humans are, they are still small compared to the mysterious deep sea. After the search ship confirmed it nearby, it immediately returned to the naval high-level officials and decided to make the decision. The news reached the ears of Greto Douglas, the commander-in-chief of the Columbia Ocean Fleet. After hearing the news, he thought for a moment and decisively gave his order. The search mission cannot be stopped. This matter is related to very important intelligence. Don't give up any possibility. Send a salvage ship to use a diving bell to dive into the deep sea for inspection. Only by seeing the body of the alien on the ship can we confirm that they died at sea, The Navy immediately arranged it. However, after a while, they spent more than a day in that sea area. At this time, Jang E and his team had already run away. After the Fin Dragon was solved, everyone on the ship breathed a sigh of relief. At least now they don't have to worry all day long. You know, it's not a good feeling to be stared at by a giant beast hundreds of meters long in the ocean. Jang E came to an empty warehouse and cut off the head of the Fin Dragon. Its entire body cannot be taken out at all, otherwise the whole ship will be sunk. But this head alone is 4 or 5 meters long. Jang E took a deep breath. He had never tried to absorb the essence of an alien beast before, so he didn't know if it would work. He placed his hand on the head of the Fin Dragon in the same way as humans. The next moment, an extremely huge amount of original power surged into his body. Sure enough, the mutated creatures were all the same. Jang E could clearly feel that his power had become stronger. However, it was not enough. It was still not enough to break through that boundary. But his improvement was also very obvious. He did not encounter the dilemma that Deng Yuanbua had mentioned at the beginning, that after an alien reached a certain level, no matter how much he absorbed the essence, it would be difficult to make progress. According to Jang Yi's estimation, absorbing such a top-level delta-level alien beast brought his ability index to around 9,700 points. This also made Jang Yi realize that his potential was far above Deng Shintong and others. Perhaps it's because they rely too much on technology and hard work to improve their strength. And I'm purely natural, Jang Yi thought secretly in his heart. But one thing is certain, it is easier for him to break through to the Epsilon realm than Deng Shintong and others. Perhaps, even if he doesn't use the Source of God, as long as he can absorb more of this powerful alien beast or alien's origin, he can reach the Epsilon ability index standard. The Source of God. What's so magical about that thing? Jang E murmured. If it's just something that can make people break through genetic limitations, maybe he doesn't need it now. Because he is not an ordinary captain-level existence like Deng Shintong, he is far from reaching his own shackles. The further you go, the more obvious the gap in talent will be. Whether it's him, Gao Changkong, or Yuan Kongya, they are all aliens with a higher upper limit. As for the one in Shengjing, it is said that he has obtained the power of the Source of God. However, Jang E knows nothing about him, her, and cannot make a judgment. Jang E has a new understanding of supernatural powers at this time. He even has an impulse to continue to hunt powerful beasts in the sea to upgrade. However, this idea was only thought about for a while, and was soon dispelled by Jang E. Because along the way, he passed through such a large sea area. If he had not encountered a battle of beasts by chance, he might not have encountered the Fin Dragon. After all, this kind of deep-sea giant snake usually does not move in shallow sea areas. If you really want to hunt more powerful beasts, you can only go deep into the deepest part of the sea. But think about the environment of the deep sea. There are far more species and numbers of creatures there than on land. It is almost certain that there are terrifying beasts of the level of Epsilon. The seabed is too dangerous. I'd better go to find the Source of God honestly. Jang E murmured. After all, he already knows the location of the Source of God, so there is no need to venture into the deep sea. Chapter 888 Mermaid. Jang E didn't know how much impact his self-detonation of the Jin Feng in the ocean had caused, because they completely closed all communication channels. Jiangnan District and Donghai District thought they had an accident. Although Zhu Zheng always believed that Jang E was a steady person, and it was impossible for him to die at sea. But he was worried. Jang E had information about the Source of the Gods, and his niece Zhu Yunque was also on the ship. So, he urgently contacted the Rose team and asked Linghu Feishue to investigate the explosion area, and contacted the East China Sea District to ask them to put pressure on the Columbia Navy. The situation in the East China Sea area suddenly became extremely tense. Both sides dispatched a large number of ships and aliens, and it was hard to say when they would accidentally fire. At this time, what were Jang E and the others doing? They moved aimlessly in the ice fog area, hoping to find a piece of land to rest as soon as possible. A few days later, they came to a sea area. Jang E was sitting in front of the window reading a book, and Zhou Ke was rubbing his shoulders behind him. Suddenly, Jang E's ears moved, and he seemed to hear a faint singing. Just like the graceful singing on the Fanny Ling. Jang E couldn't help asking, "Who is singing?" Zhou Ke was stunned for a moment. "Warm? Warm the loneliness?" Jang E said, "Someone is really singing, did you hear it?" Jang E asked this, and Zhou Ke immediately pricked up her ears. Jang E's hearing is quite sharp. When she listened carefully, she heard a faint singing voice intermittently. It seems to come from far away. At this point, she asked curiously, "It's really strange. This is on the sea. How can someone sing? Could it be that we are close to the land?" The vision in the ice fog area is very poor, and the Xiaoyao's voyage is almost the same as drifting. It can be seen that the field of vision is only a few dozen meters, and it may come to the vicinity of the island on the sea at any time. Hearing this, Jang E stood up curiously. "Let's go out and take a look." He was very cautious, and he put on combat uniforms for himself and Zhou Ke before walking out of the cabin. At this time, the other people on the ship had already been attracted by the singing. The long sea voyage made them too empty and lonely, and the singing on the sea was undoubtedly the best medicine for them to relieve their boredom. A group of people leaned on the railing and looked into the depths of the ice fog, trying to see clearly what was coming from the direction of the singing. Could it be a fishing boat? It's possible that it's fishermen on the sea. There are many small islands on the sea, isolated from the world. They may not be greatly affected by the end of the world. Who is the singer? Soon Wenshi held her hands to her heart and said hopefully, "I heard that the singing on the sea may be sung by mermaids." "Do you think we have encountered mermaids?" Jang E happened to come over and heard this. He said expressionlessly, "Things that live in the water all year round, even if they are really mermaids, must be covered with fish scales. Are you sure that thing is the same as you imagined?" Soon Wenshi's face froze suddenly. Thinking of the animal covered with scales, with a bloody mouth, and living on fish, her face turned pale. Zhu Yong gathered her hair and said, "I have heard of the legend of sirens. They sing on the sea to seduce the crew to sail over. In the end, they all hit the reef and sank." Lao Tian and other crew members all laughed when they heard this. "That's just a fairy tale. But there are animals on the sea that make sounds similar to human babies, such as dolphins and some species of whales." Jang E looked into the distance while listening to Lao Tian telling about his adventures when he went out to sea. This was the nth time he had repeated it in front of everyone. But as he listened, Jang E's eyes suddenly widened. Because the thick ice fog in front of him slowly dissipated, he actually saw a mermaid on a reef. A human body, a fish's lower body, and the upper body was a beautiful mermaid with a curvy figure and long red hair. And the song came from the mermaid's mouth. Jang E looked at the scene in front of him in astonishment. The mermaid seemed to feel Jang E's gaze and looked back. Her face was extremely beautiful, more beautiful than any woman Jang E had ever seen, and almost flawless. The melodious melody in her mouth did not belong to any language Jang E knew. It was melodious and graceful, as if it came from the mysterious dragon palace under the sea. The moment she saw Jang E, a bright smile appeared on her face, and then she jumped from the reef into the water.
She
Rose and fell lightly on the sea, like a dolphin. Soon, she came in front of Jang E. The wet and smooth arms clung to the railing, and Jang E smiled and stared at her. Such a scene made even Jang E feel haunted, as if he had fallen into a fairy tale world. But at this moment, the warning in his heart sounded. Time echo instinctively made his body retreat. Jang E was stunned. The mermaid in front of him had opened her soft arms, revealing a white and frank chest, and threw herself into his arms. The scene in front of him changed, and the light and shadow that Jang E saw changed immediately. In an instant, from beautiful to extremely ugly, how could that be a beautiful mermaid? It was clearly a dark and ugly fish covered with black mucus and with a bloody mouth. Fuck. Instinctively, Jang E cursed, and cold sweat broke out on his back. With a burst of divine power, the space was twisted, and the disgusting fish was directly blown into powder. But at this time, the The strange cries on the boat rang out. There was not only one strange fish, but 3 or 4 had already rushed to the boat and pounced on the passengers and began to bite. They made baby-like cries in their mouths, and the low melody made people drowsy. The chests of the passengers who were bitten were empty, but there were still happy smiles on their faces. Jang E felt creepy. This strange fish could actually use sound to hypnotize. If he didn't have the ability to echo time, he might have been accidentally caught just now. Seeing that everyone on the boat was caught, Jang E knew that he couldn't wake them up, so he directly pulled out the holy judgment. The black flame of the void turned into a long snake, and in an instant, it killed all the strange fish on the boat.
Since
This thing uses sound to hypnotize, Jang E plans to use the same method to crack it. He turned on the voice speaker system of the combat suit, turned the volume up to the maximum, and shouted, "Wake up." The deafening sound made people's eardrums hurt. Everyone woke up and found that the beautiful illusion in front of them had disappeared. Instead, there were several hideous and terrifying black fish corpses on the boat, and companions whose chests were emptied by gnawing. They were immediately scared and screamed. Chapter 889, Strange Death. Everyone, cheer up. Many creatures in the ocean have mutated, and they are much more dangerous than on land. Jang E shouted loudly and began to clear the ugly fish on the reef that were still pretending to be mermaids. Fortunately, they only have the ability to bewitch people, and their own combat effectiveness is very weak. Lao Tian and other crew members took out their rifles and shot a few times, and soon killed many of the strange fish. The remaining strange fish saw that the situation was not good and immediately dived into the sea. But when Xiaoyao sailed far away, the melodious music sounded again in the reefs. Jang E asked everyone to return to the cabin quickly. In the future, you are not allowed to come out before confirming safety. Don't underestimate the sea. Jang E thought of what had just happened, and his back was cold. In the era of great mutation, there are all kinds of strange powers. This seemingly weak strange fish, the ability it possessed almost made him, a top Delta-level alien, fall into the trap. Everyone was also frightened. There are too many weird things in the ocean, so we should be careful. I thought that powerful sea monster was the most terrifying, but I didn't expect that this small strange fish almost took my life. We have to be on guard. This incident also reminded Jang E. Even though his strength is getting stronger and stronger, he can't be careless, because this world is full of dangers. He must be cautious and cautious. Even lions and tigers can be defeated by small mosquitoes. This sea area is a bit weird. Strengthen patrols every day. No matter what weird things you encounter, you must report to me. Jang E ordered Lao Tian. Yes, Mr. Zhang. Lao Tian ordered that the crew members should patrol on the ship in groups of 2 from now on, 24 hours a day. The 5th day of Deep into the Ice Fog Sea. That night, the night was deep, and the lights on the ship were dim. On the side of the Yenlu group, a woman slowly climbed up from the boat, then glanced at her sleeping companions next to her, tiptoed to put on her clothes, and climbed out of bed. She walked along the corridor to the bathroom at the end. In the past few days, she had her period, and suddenly she felt uncomfortable in her stomach in the middle of the night, so she had to go to the bathroom. The middle cabin where the rock flow group was located would be disconnected at night. Fortunately, there was only a long corridor in the corridor, and she could walk through it in the dark. She stepped lightly on the floor and groped forward, pressing her painful stomach with one hand, and it was a little difficult to move forward. After arriving at the bathroom, she solved her problem as quickly as possible. However, while using the toilet, a flash of lightning streaked through the night sky outside. The woman's name was Bai Jingyu. She seemed to notice something outside the window and hurriedly took a look. But when she looked up, she found nothing. Bai Jingyu thought it was her own psychological effect, but out of fear, she still cleaned up hastily, then pushed open the door of the bathroom and rushed back. Duh. The midnight was particularly quiet, and the crew members patrolling outside had also entered the control room. Bai Jingyu's footsteps were somewhat clear. This made her a little scared because it sounded as if something was hidden in her footsteps. Bai Jingyu gradually developed a sense of uneasiness in her heart. She swallowed slowly and looked around timidly. But there was nothing around. Bai Jingyu's breathing became rapid. She quickened her pace and wanted to get back to her room quickly. But when she turned around, she suddenly saw something that made her pupils suddenly dilate, and she opened her mouth to shout. However, her vocal cords did not have time to make a sound. It seemed that something appeared. Her mouth opened wider and wider, and even twisted into a strange arc that was not like a human could open. Bai Jingyu's hands dropped down and twisted hard like claws. Suddenly, her body began to twitch sharply, but after a few seconds, she regained her composure. Bai Jingyu stood in the long corridor. The shadow covered her face, and her expression could not be seen clearly. But after a few seconds, she walked slowly back to her room, then lifted the quilt and went to sleep. The next day, Bai Jingyu got up and ate as usual. The acquaintances around her thought that her expression was a little strange and came to ask her if she was sick. Bai Jingyu just said lightly, "It's okay, my period has come." Hearing this, others could only smile and comfort her, and didn't ask any more questions. People who have been through their period know that women at this time must not be provoked, otherwise they will die miserably. And that night, it was late at night. Everyone fell into a deep sleep. Bai Jingyu suddenly opened her eyes. She walked barefoot to the bed of the person who greeted her during the day. Her eyes were cold and dull, like a walking corpse. The weak light outside cast her shadow stretching on the wall. Her mouth quickly split open, and then a thing more than 1 meter long suddenly rushed out of her mouth and wrapped around the man's face. He struggled desperately, but there was no movement after just a few seconds. A faint sucking sound came from the silent room. After all this, Bai Jingyu returned to her bed again, quietly covered herself with a quilt, closed her eyes, and fell asleep. Early the next morning, someone in the room got up in the morning to go to the toilet. He habitually patted the brother next door, trying to pull him over. But when he stretched out his hand, he suddenly sank. The man was curious and thought that the brother next door had already gotten up. But when he turned his head, he screamed. The terrifying scream startled everyone in the room, and even the neighbor was awakened by the sound. "What's going on?"
Who is shouting?
The people in the room had just woken up and were still confused. The man fell to the ground in fear, his eyes wide open, pointing in the direction of the bed. "Damn, dry corpse." The people in the room immediately focused their attention on the bed. They saw the scene clearly, and their faces changed suddenly. The person on the bed seemed to have been drained of flesh and blood, with deep sunken cheeks and skin tightly wrapped around the skull. 2 shriveled eyeballs were still in the eye sockets, staring up dryly and dully.
Quick.
"Go tell the people on the boat. Someone's killing someone on the boat again." Some people with fragile hearts couldn't help but start shouting in panic. The news soon reached Lao Tian. Lao Tian came down with his men and guns. The people in the next room heard the news and gathered around to join in the fun, talking about it. "Get out of the way, everyone." Lao Tian came over with a gun. Several leaders of the Yanlu group, Li Zhongyu, Ma Wenzheng, and Zhang Weiwei were all here. Seeing Lao Tian coming, they greeted him. Chapter 890 Sea Monster. Old Tian came over cautiously and asked, "What's going on? Have you checked how the person died?" The body was still on the bed, and no one dared to touch it. Zhang Weiwei knew some medical skills and was a little braver. She asked Li Zhongyu to help check the body. Hearing old Tian's question, Zhang Weiwei resisted the nausea, came to him, and said in a low voice, "He died very strangely. His internal organs were all hollowed out, and there was almost only skin and bones left." When old Tian heard this, his face instantly became extremely ugly. After they came to the sea, they had encountered many mutated monsters. This kind of death is obviously not something that ordinary people would do. He walked up and carefully touched the body with his gun. It was found that the body was indeed hollowed out, as Zhang Weiwei said. It seemed that something had drilled into his body and eaten up his internal organs. "Get out of the way, stay away. Everyone else leave this room immediately," old Tian said to the others in the cabin. Immediately, the crew began to drive people away. Only Li Zhongyu and 3 others were left. Lao Tian said to them, "Don't tell anyone about this matter first. Before finding out the truth, if other people know about it, it will easily cause panic." Zhang Weiwei nodded. "We think so too. Now is a special moment, so it is better to handle it properly." Lao Tian asked people to close the door, and then ordered the crew to raise their guns and aim at the body. He pulled out a sharp dagger from his boots, came to the body, reached out and touched the sunken chest, and then stabbed it hard. No body fluid splashed out, and Lao Tian felt like he was stabbing a shriveled duck. Lao Tian continued to exert force and effortlessly opened the entire chest. It was empty inside, nothing. Continued to dissect other parts, and no abnormalities were found. There was not even any wound on the body, as if something intangible had devoured his internal organs and flesh. Lao Tian's expression became heavier. He had never encountered such a situation in his decades as a seaman. At this time, the entire rock flow group had gathered outside the cabin.
They were all talking about it.
Some people even said, "I saw the body. It looked like a mummy. It was definitely not done by a human. Could it be a monster in the sea? Have we encountered few monsters during this period? But it actually sneaked into our cabin and killed people. And no one found it. This. What should I do?" Lao Tian also felt extremely difficult at this time. If the problem at hand cannot be solved, more people may die on the ship. The people in the Yanlu group are all highly educated, and it is difficult to make up excuses to deceive them. If people are confused, it will be difficult to lead the team. At this time, Jang E's steady voice suddenly sounded outside.
Lao Tian.
"How do you patrol?" Jang E walked in from outside with 2 crew members. He casually threw a weird-looking sea fish on the floor. "If I hadn't discovered it, would I have let this monster run away?" Everyone's eyes were cast on the hideous and ugly fish on the floor. Jang E took a white handkerchief from the crew, wiped his palms, and said, "It's the murder. I was almost attacked by it on the deck, just now. The ocean is full of dangers nowadays. Everyone must be vigilant. We can't rely on me and my crew for everything." Lao Tian hurried out when he heard Zhang Yi's voice. "Mr. Zhang." Zhang Yi glared at Lao Tian fiercely. "You're slacking off." Lao Tian swallowed his saliva and apologized quickly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Zhang. It's my mistake." He looked at the strange fish on the floor, but he was a little confused, but he didn't say it on the spot. Zhang Yi said, "Move the body out and strengthen patrols in the future. Also, Li Zhongyu, you have to take the main responsibility for this problem. You have dozens of people in the rock flow group, more than my crew. You can't just sit there and do nothing all day. You have to organize yourself and patrol." Hearing this, Li Zhongyu felt guilty and said, "You're right. We were indeed too careless." Zhang Yi nodded. "Well, that's it. You can arrange people to patrol later." After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he left the cabin as if nothing had happened. Lao Tian asked people to carry away the body and the strange fish on the floor. Seeing this, the members of the rock flow group in the cabin were relieved. After arriving at the upper deck, Lao Tian followed Zhang Yi and whispered behind him, "Mr. Zhang, what should we do next?" With his many years of experience at sea, he could naturally see clearly that the wound on the body was definitely not caused by the fish killed by Zhang Yi.
The
reason why Zhang Yi did that was nothing more than to stabilize people's hearts. Zhang Yi took a look at the body and said, "Carry him to the infirmary. He needs to go in dash. Only a detailed autopsy can tell what did it." Old Tian immediately asked someone to carry the body to the infirmary. Then Zhang Yi called Zhou Ke over and explained the whole story to her. Zhou Ke also experienced this strange situation for the first time. She quickly changed her clothes and went to the infirmary to examine the body. After seeing the body, she showed a very strange expression on her face. There are no wounds on the surface of the body, and the inside is also very smooth. It's like the internal organs disappeared out of thin air. Zhou Ke's words made old Tian feel sick. Could it be that it was the sea monster again? Even Zhang Yi frowned deeply. They had encountered the sea monsters in the ice fog area more than once, and each time they gave them a headache. Although he has powerful strength, the sea monsters have various abilities that make him hard to guard against. For example, this time, there was a monster on the boat, but he didn't notice it at all. Zhou Kuber picked up a sharp scalpel, cut open the body, and said calmly, "I need to conduct a careful examination before I can give a conclusion. But before that, I think the whole ship must be on high alert. Because no matter what strange things happen now, it's normal." Jang E agreed, and he immediately said to Lao Tian, "From now on, order all crew members to be on high alert 24 hours a day and never slack off. For safety reasons, patrols will be changed from the original 3-person group to a 4-person group.
In
addition, the 2 lower and middle cabins will also have people living together, and they will be arranged to patrol in shifts. And any individual actions must be stopped. Even going to the toilet or taking a shower, more than 2 people must be together." Thanks for listening. Please subscribe if not already. Thanks.